How are you? I know that you had some problems with connecting today, maybe some Java stuff. But anyway, I will be uploading the video so that you can check it out later on, okay? And at home with maybe more calm and so on, okay? So I'm going to start talking about today. Well, I'm going to explain you about the exercise you were supposed to do as homework. And with that, we're going to be finishing about talking about writing. Okay, so far we have seen three skills, which are listening, um, reading, and writing. Okay, remember, reading and listening are part of receptive skills, whereas writing and speaking are part of the uh, productive skills, in which will require more output. Okay, so so far I'm gonna explain to you a little bit about writing. Well, not explain, I'm gonna show you the exercise you were supposed to do for homework. Okay, and I'm going to start with the answer, so I hope you could do it at home and check yourselves. Okay, so this was the exercise. You had to look at this activity, and here we have some instructions, and you know that talking about writing, we need to focus on the process, which is basically all the following steps you need to do in order to have a good writing. Uh-huh. You just don't only need to focus on grammar or vocabulary or structure or ideas. You need to have like a background during the job and after the job. Okay. So now I'm gonna explain you sorry the answers of this exercise. Okay, so in the first one, in the first task, the answer is understanding the task. Okay, what is this? Well, basically you will have something to achieve, right? You will need to achieve something. In this case, the instruction was you are going to write your own magazine article related to this topic. So here is the topic. It was supposed to be about 250 and 300 words describing a future dream of yours. Sorry, have yeah, future dreams of yours. Say how you plan to achieve it. Okay, so that means that this is basically the most important part because it's when you will understand it. Okay, so what you have to do in reality. Now, for exercise number two, here it says, before you start writing, make notes and answer these questions. So here we had several questions from A to D. Here we have from A to D, and we have these questions. Okay, what exactly is your dream? How easy or difficult will it be? Will it be to be achieved? And so on. Okay, so basically, what this is an exercise which requires you to understand the task first. Understand this task because you will have another idea. If you didn't understand in A1, maybe with this exercise will be clearer. Especially for those that are kind of distracted when reading instructions. So by developing these questions, maybe they can get an idea about it. Okay, and developing ideas, that's for sure. Okay, because with this you can start creating your ideas, you can start warm up and do some brainstorms, start checking the vocabulary you might be using and so on. Okay, now in number three, compare notes with a partner, discuss the similarities and differences between your dreams. Okay, so one more time, you will develop your ideas because you might change your mind. As soon as you listen to your partner, maybe you will say, oh, his idea is also good. So maybe you will change one of your ideas with your classmates. Uh-huh. And well, this is also for extending ideas, as I was telling you, or maybe you don't want to change that. You will keep the ones that you have, but you just want to expand them, like giving more features or characteristics to your own ideas. Okay. Now, in exercise part B, that says referring to the notes you have just made, organize your ideas into paragraphs. Try to interest, involve, amuse, or surprise the reader. So in this case, you have like imagine that you have um your ideas, but you haven't construct them, you haven't put them in order. So here, for example, we have some of them with the paragraphs. In the first paragraph you need to do this, second paragraph do this, and so on. So you have now like a kind of a schedule in order to organize your ideas. Okay, so basically the uses of this exercise is structuring ideas. You get them, now structure them. Planning, okay, providing a model, thinking about your reader. Okay, so why thinking about your reader? Well, because here it says at the end, try to interest, involve, amuse, or surprise the reader. Mhm. So that is basically the point of this exercise. Very good. And well, the good point of this is also to provide a model, which means you don't need to care about grammar or vocabulary like that. Okay, you can misspell some words, but nothing happens because in the end, you can change this. Remember, this is just like a draft. We were talking about draft in the other class, so this is basically a draft of your final job. Okay, so I hope this is clear so far. Now we're gonna go to part C. Write your articles. Use your paragraph, plan, and some of the express below. As you write, also think about the style, of the article. Okay. In this case, now it's more like drafting. Yeah, now in this case you have your real draft. In the previous one maybe you will just organize, but in this case it's the real draft. Okay, and now you need to correct, so you will practice the spelling. All right, so basically those are the basic steps. Okay, we were talking about those. Okay, organizing your ideas, put them in order, having a draft, and finally write. In this kind of exercise, we don't have the one of rewrite again. Like means like start over your composition or the same draft and put it into the real one. Okay, so in this case, no, because maybe the task is that simple. But as I was telling you the other class, maybe if you have an essay or an article, this will be compulsory to do because you have a more formal situation. In this case, it's just about dreams. Okay, it doesn't even need to have a specific format. Okay, you just can write paragraphs, as you can see, not even a title or a thesis. So it's just like very simple. Okay, but as I was telling the other class, that will depend also a lot kind of the kind of text you will be writing. Okay, so I hope teachers that this is completely clear now. I hope you had done your homework so that you, as soon as you watch this video, you can get all the ideas and all the marks. And I remember I am available if you have doubts, and ask me next class. Okay, now I'm going to continue now with the sample test. All right, but before doing so, I'm going to have a very short review about writing. Okay, so as you remember, well, writing is a productive skill. We have different text types such as postcards, birthday card, diary, essays, articles, and so on. Okay, and what you need to what is important in writing is the accuracy, which means basically writing correctly. Join the letters together, punctuation, okay, choosing the right vocabulary, and so on. So basically, use the correct grammar in order to have a good composition. But you will also need to be aware of appropriate functions. What is a function? For example, this style. Okay, that will depend on the kind of text you will be writing. It can be a descriptive writing or can be persuasive or narrative, for example. Or and also you need to be aware of the register, about the register, because it can be either formal or informal. So all of that you need to take that in mind. Here we have some examples of this. For example, in narrating, you will tell a story maybe. Or for concluding, well, maybe you will write an essay and you need to have the excellent or the most appropriate way to conclude. Mhm. Now, in this case, we will also talk about cohesion, okay, which is basically the use of logical ways of the information. Okay, what is this? We need to focus on three important aspects, which will make your writing a little bit more comprehensible, and at the same time, it will have more impact on the reader. Okay, in this case, well, topic sentence. In most of the paragraphs have to have a topic sentence. What is this? Well, basically, is the main sentence, the sentence that will give you an idea, the sentence in which you can change something and transform it to another and another and another. So this is most of the times these topic sentence come at the beginning of a paragraph. And this will allow you to mention the most important parts of your writing. And also, what you need to include in every single piece of writing are pronouns, okay, and conjunctions. Pronouns and conjunctions, remember that are, well, pronouns will help me not to mention, like avoid repetition. If I already say the girl, it is very bad. It is considered a very bad writing to have the girl, the girl, the girl, the girl, the girl, and the girl, and so on. Okay, so maybe you will need to change for a pronoun, for example, she or who. A relative pronoun and so on, and conjunctions. Okay, they are also important because they will give you like this special flavor to your writing, right? Like therefore, but, nevertheless, and all these kind of words that join the ideas. And you might also avoid repetition, and at the same time, you will have another effect in your on your reading. Okay, so this is basically about writing. Now we were talking about the stages that was related to your last homework. Okay, first for the stages, you need to work on the ideas first. So you need maybe brainstorming or something like that. So in order you to have the ideas, then you can start ordering them. So which one is more important or will be more useful for your writing? Which one maybe is not that important, but you want to include it, and so on. After that, you will have a drafting. Okay, this is the first version of your writing, and obviously it can be changed, and you don't need to care about punctuation or grammar or lexis or something like that. You just you just organize your ideas. Okay, editing, this is the moment in which you can correct. Now you can check the spelling, the punctuation. Okay, if you missed a letter or a word, now this is the moment. After that, the proofreading, okay, which means checking the mistakes, especially talking about accuracy. All right, what do I mean with that? Well, the format, if it is formal or informal enough. Uh-huh. All the stuff about grammar, also about the structures. If you really included the conjunctions, the pronouns, if you are avoiding repetition, and so on. Okay, and finally redrafting, which means write a second draft version of your piece of writing. Okay, so in this case now, like, it's almost the end. Let's call it like that. Okay, so with this kind of very short review, you're going to do the next exercise. Okay, um this is it, and you will have this kind of questions in the real test. Okay, so for questions from 1 to 7, choose the best option A, B, or C to complete each statement about writing skills. Okay, so here we have the first one. Using cohesive devices does not require us to, and here we have three options. So what you need to do, it's only to mark, underline the correct option. Okay, so I'm gonna give you, since now, 10 minutes maximum to do this exercise. Okay, so you will be doing them at home, obviously. Okay, 10 minutes to do it, and now you can start. Okay, I hope you can understand the exercises. You still have 5 minutes to do it, so don't worry. If you have already finished, you can continue with the video, maybe advance the 5 minutes so you can check the answers. If you haven't, well, don't worry, we just still have 5 minutes to do it. Okay, you now have 1 minute left. So if you haven't finished, I think it's time you to start getting this over. Mhm. Okay, time is up. Time's up. Okay, very nice. So I hope you did very well. And they are not very difficult questions. But well, you need to know the concepts and different meanings of this word. So we're gonna check. I'm gonna give you the answers, obviously, and if in any case you have a question, well, you can ask me. You can send me a message, or next class maybe you can tell me if you have a doubt about this exercise. Okay, so these are the answers. Okay, number one, using cohesive devices do not require us to check tenses. So I have already told you. All right, cohesion is about three important aspects: the sentences, the main sentences are gonna give me the idea. They're replacing nouns, as I told you, about avoid repetition and include conjunctions. So in this case, this not requires the check tenses. Okay, this is part of the accuracy. Accuracy is the one that deals with grammar stuff and correct use of the language. Now, process writing does not require us to summarize. Okay, summarize is not part of this. Okay, because summarize is like to get kind of in very short words what you want to say, but there are some writings that you don't need to have a summarize. You just need to go ahead with the text. So proofread and draft, these are the correct ones, but no summarize. Number three, brainstorming does not require us to edit ideas. I have already explained to you that this is just like come up with ideas, writing down the notebook, and that's it. Okay, you don't care, you don't even care about spelling. Okay, just note your ideas, think of them, and that's it. Number four, writing a topic sentence does not require us to include examples in a paragraph. Remember, this is the main idea. So it's the main point. So B, it's has a synonym with this. Okay, and focus on paragraphs. Meaning, I told you, like most of the times, these topic sentences appear at the beginning of paragraphs because they are gonna let me know what the paragraph is about. Number five, redrafting does not require us to include different ideas. So you can keep your own ones and you just need to edit them and that's it. Okay, so you don't have to write a clearer version because that is the last one. And not redrafting. Evaluate what we have written. Okay, you are evaluating. Sorry, in the letter A, that is the correct answer because that's the last step. And evaluate what you have written, obviously, because you need to evaluate what you are writing again. Mhm. And now, so include different ideas. No, because now you have it. It was supposed that you edited one or two steps before. Now, number six, writing is a suitable register does not require us to use models for writing. Okay, you just need to think about the appropriate language, which is the vocabulary, and the register, obviously, if it's formal or informal in this case, and consider who you are writing to. Okay, it's not the same to write to your family members, your relatives, whereas a teacher or the principal, or why not, maybe the president. Okay, so use model of writings, it doesn't care in these kind of things because you can write, you can have a different register in any type of text. So you don't need to follow a model exactly. You can write a letter, you can write a letter, for example, can be in formal and informal register, but you don't need to follow exactly a model. Now, number seven, structuring a text does not require us to, okay, use complex grammar. And I told you, like, you don't need to have complexity when you write a postcard, for example. Okay, you can even omit words, they do so. In the United States, well, any English speaker or native speaker does that. Mhm. Okay, so present information in a sected order. This is okay. You need to, as I told you, is the structure. Okay, so you cannot like lose these kind of things, right? Link paragraphs and sentences talking about conjunctions, but it doesn't need to be complex. Okay, it can be just a simple postcard. and that's it. Just say hi to someone and wish something good for him or her, and that's it. Mhm. So these are the answers. I hope you didn't have any questions. And if you do so, please let me know the next class or write on it model so that I can check your questions and so on. Okay. Now let's continue. Today we're going to be talking about speaking. Okay. Well, this is the last skill, so I hope this will be very clear for you, because with this we are basically ending the first part of module 1. And on Friday we're going to start with the next part, which is also in the module 1, but now we're not going to focus on language, or not like that. So now, in this case, speaking, it is also a productive skill, just like writing. Okay, so speaking involves using speech to communicate meanings to other people. Okay, this reminds me when I first started teaching, like many people told me, I want to speak English. Many people, most of the people nowadays say, I want to speak English, but they don't say, I want to learn English. Why? Why they change this verb learn and speak? Because obviously they are giving importance to speaking. I think nowadays speaking is the new I don't know how to say that, is the most focused skill when we're talking about languages, because many people want to speak. Okay, they need also writing and reading and so on, and those are important. But nowadays, people are more interested in speaking, and many methods are related about speaking. So now, I want you to make this question. Obviously, you cannot answer this time, but I want you to make these questions. How many times do you do these 20 activities in a class? Okay, how many times do you pronounce words? Like, say them again. Even though they have already listened, you repeat them again. How many times do you ask questions in the classroom? How many times do you use intonation? We have already talked about intonation. If it is a question, if it's a negative, okay? Ask for clarifications and or explanation. How many times have you asked your student, what do you mean? Or this means, or what I tried to say, or what did you try to say? Monitor and correct ourselves. How many times you will say, no, this is not correct. Sorry, I'm going to mm, redo it. I'm going to continue one more time. Take part in a discussion. How many times in a class you take part in discussions with your students? Maybe you with your students, or your students together, or you as a teacher only. Use an appropriate register for students. It's not the same to have a very formal register, maybe with other teachers or with students from college, than having students from kindergarten, for example, that they are, like younger. Take part in conversations. How many times do you ask conversation, or do you take these real conversations to your students? Greet people, obviously in English. How do you start your class? Hello, good morning. Okay, smile. Plan what we will say. How many times do you really plan your what you're going to say? Your classes basically. How many times do you practice, like 5 minutes before? Oh, I'm gonna say this, I'm gonna give this example, and I'm gonna say it, and so on. How many times ask for and give information? Use grammar and vocabulary. Use word and sentence stress when you remark something. Start speaking when someone else stops. Okay, you see your students are quiet. Now it's your time to speak, right? Tell stories. How many times do you tell stories to your students? Use language accurately. Paraphrase. Find another way to say the same thing. So many times you explain the meaning of a word, but you paraphrase it in order your students to understand it. Interrupt other speakers. Like maybe if your student is not saying something accurate that doesn't have to do with the class, maybe we'll just say, I'm sorry, but I need to interrupt you, or this is not correct. Okay. How many times do you hesitate when you are like, well, let me see, probably, perhaps, okay, and so on. Okay, so all these teachers are part of speaking. Okay, you might say, but no, that's not true. A smile you is not part of speaking. Okay, not exactly part of speaking, but it has to do with language. And remember, speaking, as it says, the same as writing, is basically to communicate. And you don't only communicate with words, you also communicate with gestures, with your body language. Okay, so even though it's not speaking itself, it has to do with it because we want to communicate, but this time not with words or not with written words. Okay, so here we have, well, I'm gonna read this. When we speak, we usually do all these things, except we don't usually plan what we will say, nor do we use language completely accurately. That's true. Okay, when we speak, it just came up all of a sudden. We don't plan it. We don't really plan it. You can get a lot of preparation, especially for those that have applied for a speaking test. You can have lots of preparation. You can learn lots of conjunctions and things like that. But at the moment, you don't really plan that. You just speak, or you are maybe in the Zocalo with your friends, and then some tyrants come and they don't know what to ask or what to do. So then you start talking to them and you will say, well, may I help you? And so on. And you start speaking and speaking. So, and you don't really plan it. Hmm? Very good. So I'm going to continue. I hope this is clear. And I really hope you are thinking about all the times you do these kind of activities. Now, the same as writing, the speaking sub skills are not that important, although we need to check them, okay, because they are related somehow with writing and all these skills. We need to check them, but in this case, they are not that important. One more time. Okay, so these are the sub skills: making use of grammar, vocabulary, and function. So in speaking, as the other ones, you need to focus on grammar, vocabulary, and functions. So you need to be aware of all this. It is formal, if it is not formal, if it is a request, if it is I don't know, an order, if it is a suggestion. All this has to do with function. Vocabulary, well, as I told you, you cannot speak the same way with a student from university with the one that is in the kindergarten, right? So maybe your vocabulary for the one that is in the university will be higher. The grammar, obviously, you need to make maybe more complex sentences for those that are in a higher level. But for those small ones, maybe you will use very basic words or very basic linkers such as and, but, and things like that. Okay, making use of register to speak appropriate. Okay, in this case, well, now you know about formality and informality. Using features of connected speech. Okay, I hope you remember about connected speech, right? Which is basically to deal with the language, to deal with intonation, to deal with speedy, and to deal with accent. Mhm. So it's not the same as American people speak and British people speak. Some of my students have asked me what kind of English I speak, and I always say, well, I speak the standard of English, and they wonder what is standard speech. Well, basically, I don't have an accent. Well, my accent is Mexican, as you can realize, as everyone else. Okay, we are not native speakers, but in this case, there are some teachers that are like very close to American, and other teachers that are close to the British one, and that is okay. That's their own point of view. I consider myself, I don't have really an accent. I just speak like the standard English. Okay, but well, anyway, it's good to have also maybe one kind of accent. Okay, using body language, as I was telling you, uh, speaking is not only saying words and words and words, it's also our gestures, right? Eye contact, facial expressions, and movements. Okay, all these movements that you do with your hands or with your face, all of this is part of a speaking sub skill, because you are trying to communicate something but without words. Oral fluency. Okay, this is very important. Speaking at a normal speed with little hesitation, repetition, or self correction, and with smooth use of connected speech. Okay, so fluency connects many aspects in the language. One of these, or one of the most important, is that to continue speaking, the speed, how fast you speak. All right, maybe in a class with university students, you will speak a little bit louder and faster, but for students from primary school, maybe you will um, hesitate, or you will make some pauses during speaking. And the last one, which I remarked, okay, because this is very important, is using interactive strategies. What is a interactive strategy? Ways of keeping people interested and involved in what we are saying. Means to have communication, to make dialogues, but don't plan them, just like interact with other people. Okay, so for example, in my case, what I normally do to have this interaction is at the beginning of each class, I make questions like randomly and without a specific topic. Okay, so for example, I ask, how are you today? What's the weather like today? Okay, what's your favorite subject, your favorite color? And then the students are starting speaking, and we have an interaction. And at the same time, I am learning about them. Mhm. Very good. So I hope you remember this, okay, because this is very important, and especially the interactive activity strategies, which we're going to be checking in a moment. Okay, these are the strategies. Okay, you need to be aware that the strategies depend on the function we are trying to communicate. The function we are trying to communicate. What is this? Well, basically, we have these three: clarifying. Okay, so for example, I just wrote the examples of this. I didn't write like exactly somehow the definition, because we all know what is clarifying, right? But for example, in this case, use body language such as gestures, movements with the face, and fingers. So if I say like this, I'm saying that it is a yes, right? But what if I say, that means like it is a no? Or what if I say, it's like cut it down, like stop it? So clarifying not only has to do with words, okay, it has also to do with movements, gestures, and so on. All right, interaction. Okay, in this interaction is like what I was telling you about, asking for opinions. So what do you think? Okay, what's your opinion about this? What's your point? Mhm. Turn taking. Using intonation or body language to show you want to join a conversation or end one. Keep speaking or invite other participants to join in. Example, moving your head up and down in order to say you are paying attention to the speaker and you want he to continue. Okay, so maybe like something like that. Like, yeah. All right, so that means that you are paying attention to him. Okay, that what he's saying, it's important and interesting for you. Okay, so far we have these three strategies: clarifying, which don't only require words, you can also use it with body language; interaction, which means like to talk to other people but without planning. Okay, it's like just to make some questions, answers, and so on. And turn taking, okay, which means listening to the speaker. In this case, he's giving you information, but you can also give also information. Okay, like, okay, now it's my time. You have already told me about how you spend your last vacation. Now I want to tell you how I spend mine, and so on. Okay, so now when you're doing like this, it's like you're telling that it's your turn, right? And so on. So I hope this is clear with these three strategies. We're going to check some others, but before that, we're going to continue with speaking features, okay, which are basically the characteristics of speaking. When we evaluate the speaking, we normally have a rubric. We're going to be talking about rubric at the very last module, the module number 3. Okay, so when we have rubric, we have to take into consideration some aspects about speaking, and here I have some of them, and you can use them now if you want to for evaluating your speaking, the speaking of your students. Okay, so for example, the first one is fluency that I have already talked about it. Okay, so this helps ensure that our listener will keep on listening to us without getting bored or irritated by too many hesitation or too slow. So uh, there are many students that prove you, like they test you because they are asking you and they want to know about you, especially if they have a very high level of English. So it is important as for teachers to have a nice fluency, to speak in the way you think it will be more suitable to speak, not too slow, not too fast. Okay, but when we're talking about real conversation, it is very important to start or speak faster, because that's the way they speak. Okay, faster, but at the same time understandable. Mhm. So if you hesitate a lot or if it is too slow, maybe you can get your listener, sorry, to get bored. Okay, so the good point of this is to keep talking, but in an understandable way. Now, the next point is accuracy. We have already talked about accuracy, which is the correct grammar, use of vocabulary, and the pronunciation of sounds help keep our message clear. So basically, it's to speak correctly. Accuracy, the synonym of accuracy basically is correct for writing and speaking. Okay, so in this case, if you make lots of mistakes, it's normal because we are non-native speakers. We can make mistakes. It's part of learning. Okay, but if you I don't know, make the same mistake once again and once again, maybe what you're trying to say is not that clear. Okay, and you will have problems with this interaction, with this communication. Okay, so for example, I have many students that say, I am agree. I am agree, I am agree, I am agree, I am agree. And obviously, there are other students that make fun of this. But sometimes when they make more than just this mistake, like with the verb to be, which are the most common ones, or with the s in the sentence, like he speak or I speaks and he are and so on. So all these kind of mixture of mistakes will not allow you to have a good accuracy. And obviously, the listener, and especially for expositions, I have seen this many times with my students, especially for expositions, they lost what they are saying and they just don't pay attention to the person who's speaking. Okay, because they are making lots of mistakes, and that's why they don't care, like they don't realize that what the person saying is correct or not, or if it is important or not. Okay, appropriacy. In this case means keep our listeners involved by using the correct register, formal or informal, in order not to upset them or make them feel uncomfortable. Okay, so I wanna give you an example. Um, Imagine that you're in a meeting with other teachers. You normally know each other, but anyway, it's a job. Um, it's part of your job, so it's a formal meeting. So it requires, because you're in the school, because there are teachers that you know, but there are other teachers that you don't know. So maybe you will have a more formal vocabulary, especially talking about education, like in consejos técnicos and so on. Okay, so you need to speak in the correct way. But imagine that you go out with the teachers, which are your colleagues, but they are also your friends. Maybe you go out, maybe to a restaurant which is not very fancy, and you just want to relax because it's the it's the it's the end of the year, and this is kind of your celebration party and so on. So maybe in this case, you are not going to be that formal. Okay, because if you are too formal, maybe they will feel uncomfortable. Like they will say, relax yourself, like you are not in the school anymore. So calm down and enjoy the evening, or I don't know. Okay, so basically these are the speaking features. Okay, the fluency, accuracy, and appropriacy. Okay, now I will continue with this exercise, but before to do so, just to remark one more time. Speaking, communicate, not only with words, but also with body language. Sub skills, the same as the previous ones: grammar, vocabulary, function, register, connected speech, body language. In this case, it is included for the first time the body language. Fluency, also, it is included for the first time. And interactive strategies. What are these strategies? Well, to clarify, to have interaction, and turn taking. Okay, you can use this one more time without using words. You can use words or you can use body language. That's why they are called strategies, because you might change the method for doing so. Mhm. Then the next one is the speaking features like fluency, accuracy, and appropriacy. In this case, well, the fluency, now you know, like to keep talking, not too slow, not too fast, or depending on the situation, so that your listener don't get bored. Accuracy, which means to say the things correctly with the with the correct lexis and with all the grammar structures and so on. And appropriacy, well, basically is to decide if you're going to speak in a more formal way or in a less formal way. And that's it. Okay. So now you're going to do this exercise. Okay. I'm going to give you 10 minutes one more time. Here is a list of titles for speaking activities from course books. What aspects of speaking from A to F do they focus on? Some focus on more than one aspect. Okay, so maybe in number one, you will have more than one. Okay, so I have already explained you this: accuracy, connected speech, fluency, and so on. Okay, so for example, word and sentence stress. Word and sentence stress. So maybe for you, as we're talking about sentence stress, maybe you will say, it's connected to speech because it has to do with the accent and this and these things. Or maybe it can also have with function, right? So if I want to say a recommendation, maybe at the end I'm going to raise or up, like maybe I don't know. Would you like to come to the party with me? Maybe. I don't know. Like this can be just an example. Okay, so you're going to do this. As I told you, you're going to have 10 minutes to do it. I hope you can analyze all the sentences and the options, and I let you know as soon as the time is over. Okay. Remember, if you finish earlier, you can advance the video so that you don't waste much time waiting for me. Okay. So right now you have 10 minutes. Start now. Okay, teachers, you still have 4 minutes left. So remember, if you have already finished, you can advance the video to check the answers. Okay, if you haven't, don't worry, you still have time to complete it. Okay, teachers, you have more or less 1 minute to finish it. So I hope you didn't get much trouble doing this. Okay, time's up. Very good. So this is, remember, this is just an extra practice so that you can analyze what you are doing, the sentences, and so on. Okay, so now I'm gonna give you the answers very, very quickly. Okay, in the number one, word and sentence stress, this has to do with accuracy and connected speech. Okay, why? Well, I was explaining you about the connected speech because it has to do with the accent. It's not the same as we speak and British people. So sometimes they raise, sometimes they go down, and so on. Okay, and accuracy because it is the correct pronunciation of the word. Okay, so we need to know how to pronounce the words, and this means to say it correctly. Number two, language for asking for clarification politely has to do, first of all, and which it is the most important one, appropriacy, because it is talking about formality. If you are polite, then you are formal. E also for function, right? Because in this case, the function is a clarification, so to clarify. Okay, it's not to make an invitation, it's clarifying. And finally, interaction. Okay, because if you ask something, you are at the same time interacting with the other people and so on, or you are expecting a question or an answer to what you are asking. Mhm. Now, number three, informal language for greetings. In this case, also, one more time, has to do with appropriacy because we're talking about informal things. Okay, it has to do with function, one more time, because it's to greet, to saying hi. Okay, and not another function. And interaction, one more time, you're asking for an answer. Language for suggesting and recommending. In this case, one more time, function and interaction. You're expecting an answer. Five, using conjunctions and past tenses in stories. This only had to do with accuracy. Okay, because remember, conjunction is the part to connect the ideas. Okay, and well, to take the tense you need to know the correct grammar of simple past, all these rules, and the correct pronunciation of the verbs is not the same. For example, I don't know, visited and watched. Okay, we need to know about this difference. Okay, distinguish minimal pairs of sounds, in this case, one more time, with accuracy, correct pronunciation, and connected speech. Okay, because remember that sometimes the minimal pair has to do also with the country. Okay, it's not the same American and British. About, you remember about these sounds that change the meaning totally just for one phoneme, like in these and those. That was the example of the exam. Okay, using intonation to show doubts. One more time, accuracy, because that's the right way to say something, and connected speech. Okay, because remember, intonation is part of the accent. Taking part in discussions, the fluency. Okay, remember we were talking about not bored, not get our readers bored, right? Like to be aware of who is listening to us, and obviously the interaction, because when you are take part in the discussions, that means that you will say your opinions and then his and so on. Getting your partner to agree with you. One more time, function and interaction. Because function, because we're talking about agreements, not about invitation or something like that. And interaction, well, because you want your partner to agree with you. Number 10, telling stories. Okay, this has to do with fluency, not get our reader bored. And interaction, right? Maybe in a told story, you might ask the people that are listening to you, you might ask him or her if they are understanding the story, if they can describe the characters and so on. Okay, intonation and tag questions. Okay, one more time, has to do with accuracy because of pronunciation and correct things and so on. And connected speech is not the same, the intonation in American and British. Okay, and finally, interrupting politely, which is very similar to number two. Okay, which has to do with function because you are doing something formal, and F because you are asking for an interaction, right? So you are interrupting, but because you want to say something. Mhm. So here are the possible answers. I hope this is clear. If you have another one and you think that can be suitable part of one of these numbers of one of these tenses, let me know. You can write a message to me on Edmodo, and maybe I can check and maybe we can have a debate about this. Hmm? Very nice. So with this, I have just finished talking about speaking with this extra exercise. Now let's go with the most important part, which is the sample of the test. Okay, what kind of questions you might have in the real test. Okay, and here is the instructions. Here are the instructions, sorry, and I'm going to read them to you. For questions from 1 to 7, match the trainer's comments with the aspect of speaking listened from A to D. Listed from A to D. You will need to use some of the options more than once. That means that fluency can be either in 1 or 3 or in 7, right? So you need to look at them. They are very easy. We have already talked about them. Okay, and here we have the examples. These are speaking activities. Hmm? So now I'm going to give you 10 minutes to do it. Okay, remember, if you finish earlier, you can advance the video. Okay, so start now. Okay, teachers, you still have like 5 minutes more. So I hope everything is okay. And if remember, if you have already finished, you can continue with the video. You can advance it. You can go further, but you still have some time to do it. Okay, teachers, time's up. Mhm. So now I'm gonna check the answers, and that will be all for today's class. Well, I need to know if you have a question one more time. In case of having it, type on me on Edmodo, please. Now, these are the answers. I hope you did very well. Okay, so here we have trainers' comments that students really help the group work by inviting people to speak or summarizing. So the key word here is inviting. So that means that we're talking about an intention. And when we have an intention, is because we expect an answer. And that's why interaction is the correct answer. Okay, very good. And well, obviously here ideas and stopping some students talking and so on. So when we talk about take turns, we're also talking about interaction. Number two, the student pauses and hesitates too much. He needs to sound more confident. This has to do with fluency. Okay, remember to speak in the correct speed, not too slow, not too fast, maybe, and do not hesitate. Number three, I'm afraid I couldn't understand what he was saying. I didn't know if he was saying p or b or or n. For example, this is accuracy. Okay, remember something that you need to deal with the language. Okay, there are some. For example, the er in American and British English is not the same pronounce, the same as this one, right? So you need to be aware of this accent and pronunciation stuff. Number four, in some ways, the students gave an excellent presentation, but he'll need to speak more formally when he presents it to all the teachers. This is very easy, and you know that it has to do with appropriacy because you're going to be talking about formal and informal things. Right now, number five, she kept confusing her tenses, so nobody understood what she was talking about. This is definitely accuracy. When you say something wrong, that has to do with accuracy. Number six, he was very good at continuing to speak smoothly, even though he needed to paraphrase a lot. This is fluency, okay? So remember, fluency is when you keep on talking, no matter if people understand or not. Obviously, that's your job, right? To make them understand. But the thing here is to keep talking. And you can use paraphrasing to help you and so that your message can be taken by by your listeners. And finally, I think they sound a bit rude. Maybe you can teach them some other exponents for these functions, and in this case, is D because it's not the appropriate, um, uh, let's say, register, right? Formal and informal, and that's it. Okay, so I hope you did it very, very well this time. Okay, there were only 7 questions, and I think the sentences were not that difficult. Okay, so please, I like to read your comments on Edmodo in the Edmodo platform. Please type to me and let's analyze. Maybe you have a question that we can analyze for next class. But so far, that's okay. We have already finished with speaking. Okay, we have already finished talking about all the aspects, okay? All the aspects of the language that are grammar, phonology, lexis, and function. And we have already finished talking about the skills that are listening, reading, writing, and speaking. Okay, so in the same platform of Edmodo, I'm gonna deliver today quiz, a test about the first part of module 1. In this module, we're going to be looking at 3 parts. So we have already finished with 1. Okay, so we're missing 2 more. On Friday, I'm going to start with the second, which is very, very quick, to be honest. It's going to be very, very quickly because the topics are not that hard and it has more to do, rather than language, it has something to do with your job as teacher somehow. Okay, we're going to know how to treat error, how to um, motivate our students, and so on. Okay, so Very good. Now, that's all by my part. Thank you very much. I know that you had different compromises and you couldn't attend today's class, but I hope you enjoyed the class and keep on working. And I hope to see you on Friday. Bye.